The representative of
a renowned citizen of this country said, this government promised to fight corruption, but he's warning us that corruption will continue to fight back. I'm sure this he meant it for the rest of the country, not for me, because my first attempt to fight corruption fought back successfully. I was removed as the head of state, detained for 3 years. Those that we put committees to investigate for abuse in office, they were given back whatever they had misappropriated, and I remained in detention until a journalist from Edo State said my mother had to die to save me from detention, because I was only released when my mother died after 3 years. So, in spite of that, my objective of fighting corruption remains steadfast. This is another milestone in our determined and collective fight against corruption. Throughout my journey in national service, and since 2015, I have made a very conscious decision to pursue a vigorous fight against corruption in public life. Since 2015, I have made significant progress in the fight against corruption. Everyone now knows that corrupt officials will be held to account no matter how long it takes. We have recovered and are still recovering trillions of naira that were stolen in the first few years by people without conscience. We are pursuing recoveries everywhere and are making sure that anyone who has been found culpable is made to answer for his or her crime under the law. It is my hope and expectation that the judiciary, which is a critical stakeholder and partner in the war against corruption, would continue to collaborate with the executive to bring corrupt people to book. Permit me to also seize this opportunity to call on the legislature, which provides the legal framework for the anti-corruption war, to add more verve to the determination of government to rid our nation of the present corruption witnessed in recent years through reviewing archaic provisions in our laws and proactive passage of new legislation. Ladies and gentlemen, an American author and philanthropist, Anthony Robbins, once said, and I quote, "The only impossible journey is the one you never begin." I close the quotation. He was saying, in other words, that if you are determined, no obstacle will be big enough to stand in your way. What I see here is not only a structure of concrete and metal. I see in this office the resolve of Nigerians to fight corruption. But structures are not the whole story. We must change our ways of handling public trust. Corruption not only kills governments, but it destroys societies. It is the major reason why we are struggling with basic developmental issues that other comparable nations have long overcome. War of corruption is not an easy one to fight. because it affects so many different branches of our lives. So much that some people do not even consider breaking trust is anymore a crime. It has become the norm. That is why we must fight this attitude and encourage Nigerians to change their attitudes and perspectives. The goal of this administration is to ensure the protection of public trust, and the anti-corruption war is its center. We never intended, and we are not engaged in witch hunting, but we are determined within the laws to call people to account. It is for this reason that we appeal to Nigerians to support regulatory agencies like Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, because fighting corruption is everyone's concern. I call on the judiciary and the National Assembly to join hands in this national effort. I am glad to note that quite a number of nations are signifying interest to help us tighten their laws and enter into agreements with Nigeria to repatriate not only stolen funds, but to make the culprits face due process of law. We are committed to working with our foreign friends to stop the inflow of stolen funds from Nigeria into their countries and recovering what is there already. These assets, when repatriated, will be put to building our infrastructure. It is my pleasure to perform the opening ceremony of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission headquarters. Thank you all.
Only the EFCC camera and the camera of the state allowed into the facility. Only the EFCC and the state camera. Thank you so much. Thank you.